Hello, welcome to Probability, our new topic. Before we look at the calculations involved, I want you to write down these notes from a Progress Grade 11 textbook. Let's write down these notes here. Just these terms. The probability of something, you write that up to all these points here up to the last part before the worked examples. You write down these, copy them down before you proceed. Please do that. You need to understand these things. The last 2 points are very important, especially those last 2 points. Those are the ones we're going to use in this particular lesson, okay? So let's go to, I'm taking it that you've read the notes and you understand what is involved, okay? I'm taking it that you read the notes and you understand what is involved. So I'm going straight into, you've read those things. So when we're talking about a probability, what are we looking at? What is the probability that you are going to pass your exam? You go and attend interviews. What is the probability that you are going to be successful in that interview? We are looking at the possibility, the likelihood, okay? The likelihood. What is the likelihood that you are going? How do you rate your chances? Okay? So a probability, it is very important to know that our probability will always range from 0 to 1. So whatever we are giving should be ranging between this. Okay? So meaning we are looking at fractions here, or decimal numbers, or rather percentages, because if we talk about 20%, 20% is as good as 0.2. Okay? So if someone asks you what is the probability that you're going to pass your exam, and then you are like 7, I don't think that is correct, because we are saying our probability falls between 0 and 1. So it's important that you understand how a probability works. What is the probability that you are going to pass your exam? So we are looking at, you could say maybe 0.8, you could say 8 over 10, you could say, I think even a percentage also, because when we say 70%, 70% we are in other words saying, in decimal form we are saying it's 0.7, or it's 70 over 100, which is still a fraction between 0 and 1. So I think that is what we are supposed to look at. So please take note of that. That's very important to note when we are looking at probability. So I'm going to try and examine all the aspects that are considered for grade 12 exams, unless otherwise. So this is our first presentation under probability, and I'm going to take you through other lessons that are needed for you to write your exam. That is both for instance, this part, maybe these things even grade 9s would need this. So now we are looking at a probability. I've given you that in terms of probability, we are looking at the range. What we are working with is between 0 and, that's it. What is the probability that you are going to pass your exam? If someone tells you, or if it's a teacher, the teacher tells you the probability that you are going to pass your exam is 0, then they have put it as good as saying you passing your exam, it's impossible. When we're talking about 1, it's a definite situation. It's a definite situation, okay? It's a definite situation when we're looking at 1. 1, it's like we are assured that it will happen. So when we've got 0, we can have the 0.5 up to 1. So all those things, okay? All those events that are between 0 and 0.5, they are less likely to happen. But these ones that are after half up to 1, they are more likely to do what? To happen. 0 itself is an impossible case. 1, it's a definite case. Okay? Alright? So that is what we are supposed to understand. The probability is the likelihood that something, it's the likelihood of something happening. So that is what we are looking at. A probability. Okay? So let's look at the first question here. I do want the probability that Tawana, this was Tawana, the probability of Tawana failing an exam, the probability of Tawana failing an exam is 2/9. What is the probability that you will pass that same particular exam? All right. So in this case, we are looking at one person. In this case, we are looking at one person. All the probabilities that are involved when we consider them, those probabilities that depend on each other, when we consider them, they should add up to 1. So we cannot have, for instance, the probability that Tawana is going to pass the exam, the probability that Tawana is going to pass the exam plus the probability that it's going to fail the exam. This should add up to 1. The two probabilities, when you go to the hospital as a patient, we expect 2 outcomes. One is that you are going to go straight, you may be lucky you go back home. The unfortunate one, which we always don't want to hear, could be that you may be sent to a bigger fridge there, which is unfortunate. But that is a possibility that we cannot completely ignore. When the doctor tells you that the probability that your patient is going to survive is ABC, they're just giving you the likelihood of that person also not surviving, because they're looking at the intensity of the sickness. Okay, so the probability of that person recovering or healing plus their probability of not healing, they should give us 1. So when we talk about one person passing and failing, their probability should add up to 1. The probability so when you are given one probability, for instance, this one will be given a probability that is going to pass. To find the probability of failing, the probability that this person is going to pass, the probability of passing here has been given as what? 2/9 plus the probability of what? The probability of failing. This hasn't been given. Goes to 1. So what are we supposed to find that probability? This question is even very common in grade 12 exams, paper 1. So what are we going to do? You are going to subtract. This is going to be now the probability of failing is equals to 1 minus the probability of passing. The probability of passing, which is what? Which is 2/9. Then we need to subtract. How do we subtract fractions? That is what we are supposed to learn, and those things are taught in early grades. Grade 5, 6, 7. How do we subtract? Know that we're going to put 1 here. Then we find our lowest common multiple, which is 9. 1 into 9 is what? 9. 9 multiplied by 1, we get 9. Minus 9 into 9 is 1. 1 multiplied by 2 is. So we are going to get 7/9. So when we add this probability, this is the probability that this person is going to fail the exam. This is the probability that Tawana is going to fail the exam. Okay? This is the probability that Tawana is going to fail the exam. When you add these two fractions, they should be able to give you 1. Okay? Because they cannot occur at the same time. If one occurs, the other one will not occur. You can't fail and pass the same exam. You can't fail and pass the same exam. I hope I've gotten that. There are times when they'll give you the probability in terms of decimals. Please get to understand. The probability that this person is going to pass the exam is 0.25. What is the probability that they are going to fail? It is still the same thing. The probability of this person passing is this one, and the mathematics is still the same. You need just to subtract this one from a total of probabilities, which is 1. The probability of passing and the probability of failing, when we add them together, they should give us 1. So the probability of this person failing is 0.25. What is the probability of passing? And we are saying the two probabilities of failing and failing and passing, when we add them together, should give us 1. So given 1, we ought to subtract the other one from the total, which is 1. So what are you going to get? You should be able to know, this is paper 1 where you're not given what? The calculator. So you say 1, okay? How do we subtract? When you get this one, it comes here as what? 10. Then you get 1, it comes here, this you remain with 9, and then here you have got 10. So here you've got 9, you have 7. That's the way it's going to be. Again, when you add these two probabilities, these two, when you add them, they will take you back to what? To 1. Okay? So, I've also mentioned something about the percentages. 70% is what? It's 70 over 100, which is the 0.7. It's important also to know that. Okay? So, this question, a box contains 10 identical cards numbered from 1 to 10. If a card is randomly selected from the box, find the probability that the card will show. We have got 10 identical cards in a box, and they have got numbers, number 1 up to 10. All right? They have got numbers number 1 up to 10. So, what is the probability that that card which you are going to pick is going to show an odd number? So if you look at this thing that I wrote here, if A is one possible outcome of a trial, if A is one possible outcome of a trial, then the probability of A is given by number of outcomes favorable to A. Number of outcomes favorable to A. So we have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? Number of outcomes favorable to A divided by the total number of possible, which is like sample space, the total number of possible outcomes in a trial. The total number of possible outcomes in a trial. So this is the box that we have, and then we are saying we want to pick what? The probability, we want to determine the probability of selecting an odd number. We want to determine the probability of selecting an odd number. So, we come back to our formula. What do we want? The probability of selecting an odd number. That's what we want to determine. This is equal to the number of outcomes favorable to A. So we are looking at an odd number. So now the number of outcomes favorable. In this box, how many odd numbers do we have? How many odd numbers do we have? Odd numbers are numbers that are not divisible by 2. How many odd numbers do we have in this box? We have, okay, these are odd numbers. These are odd numbers. These are odd numbers that we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are odd numbers that we have. So I'm answering the question now. The probability of having an odd number is equal to the number of odd numbers that we have in the box. How many odd numbers do we have in the box? We are counting. This is an odd number. This is an odd number. So the odd numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The odd numbers that we have, they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we are going to write this 5. This 5 telling us that there are 5 odd numbers in the box. Then the denominator here is what? The total number of possible outcomes in a trial. How many numbers do we have in this whole box? The numbers are 10. The numbers are 10. So we are going to write 10 here. So when you simplify this, you're going to get 1 over 2. This is what is going to be your answer, or 0.5. All right? This is what is going to be your answer for the first question. For the first question. All right? For the first question. I hope now we have gotten the point. So, let's go to the second question. The second question is asking us to say, what's the probability that it's a number less than 4? What is the probability that we are going to pick a number less than 4 here? How many numbers are less than 4? The numbers that are less than 4, there are 3. So the probability of picking a number that is less than 4, probability of picking a number that is less than 4 is equals to what? How many are they? There are 3. 1, 2, 3. The numbers that are less than 4 here are 3 over the total, the sample space. How many? The total number of trials that we have here. Okay. So now, we move on to look at the okay, yes, this is the total number of what? The total number of possible outcomes in a trial. The total number of possible outcomes in a trial there. All right? Then we go to the next question. A 6. A 6, we are talking about this 6 itself. So the probability of getting or picking a 6 from this one, it's 1 over 10. Talking about just this 6. Okay? The probability of picking a 6, it's just 1 because we only have 1 6 over 10. Alright? That is what we are going to get here. Continue. Then the probability of picking a number that shows a number more than or equal to 7. More than or equal to 7. More than or equal to 7. First of all, we're looking at numbers that are more than 7. More than 7. It's 8, 9, and 10. More than. Okay? More than 7. But then there's a part here which says or equal to 7. Or equal to 7, it means and 7 itself. And the 7 itself. So these are the numbers that are favorable to the outcomes that we want. So we are going to say now the probability of picking a number that is it what? More than a number that is greater or equal to 7. A number that is greater or equal to 7. There are how many? We have 4 of them over 10. We can simplify this one by saying 2 over 5. This is what is going to be our answer. Are we together? This is what is going to be our answer. And then we look at the last one. The probability that we are going to have a prime number. The probability that we're going to have a prime number. Okay? A prime number. What is it? How many prime numbers do we have here? 2 is a prime number. 2 is a prime number. 3 is a prime number. 5 is a prime number. 7 is a prime number. Okay? So again, as you can see, we have how many prime numbers? 4 prime numbers over, which will be again 2 over 5. Okay? You should also get to know what odd numbers, what even numbers are. If you look at sets, I also dealt with this type of numbers. Even numbers are numbers that are divisible by 2. Factors of 6. If we say maybe the probability of selecting a number that will show a factor of 6, we're going to look at numbers that, from this list, we're going to look at numbers that can go into 6 without remainder. Also, if we talked about, if we talked about maybe the multiples of 3, we're going to be talking about numbers that 3 can go into without a remainder. So that is very important for us to know. That is very important for us to know. And we should get to know that. So I think that is basically what we needed to get to know at this point. And from this same book, I can give you an exercise that you're going to do. So maybe just at this point, I can mention something. Well, we can mention something where we're going to say, from this same question that we had, I just want to add another question after the one that was talking about a prime number. If we had another question that was talking about the probability of selecting an even number or an even number or a factor of 6. Okay? An even number or a factor of 6. This is what I was talking about. We're going to pick one number, an even number or a factor of, but then this or, it's important to note that we are talking about plus in probability. So we need to examine the probability of this one. How many even numbers do we have here? Even numbers are numbers that are divisible by 2. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we have 5 over 10. These are even numbers. They are 5. Then we should look at factors of 6. Factors of 6 are numbers that can go into 6 without a remainder. These are the factors of 6, these ones. These are numbers that can go into 6 without a remainder. So how many are they? We have 4 over 10. We have 4 over 10. 10 is the total number of the cards in the box. Then when you add this one, what do you get? You get 9 over 10. So this is going to be the probability of either picking an even number or a factor of. It's the same thing. All right? Let's make sure that we get to understand this concept. We have a die. A die, you know that a fair die has got 6 sides, 1 up to 6. 1 up to 6. So if it is rolled, what is the probability that it will turn up which number? An even number, a sum of. So you have to understand all those things. I mean, so you need to understand that for this part of an introduction of probability, those are questions that you are expected to find, and I can give you something here that is going to help you work out this part. All right? So these are questions that I want you to do, especially question 1. This question sometimes can be given as a fraction, like I did mention. So you can do, but my interest is question 1, question 5, and 6. But if you want, you can do the rest. My interest is question 1, 5, and 6. Okay? Those are the questions that I want you to handle. Okay? Okay? You can also look at these questions here just for practice. Question 1 up to 2.2. That's all. These are just there for practice. This book. Okay. Thank you very much for this lesson that you have watched. I hope you'll be able to do these questions, and there are more lessons to come to deal with this one. The next lesson, I'm going to look at probability and a tree diagram. Okay? Thank you very much. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you're finding these lessons very helpful.